We've got our basic request response behavior working for the load albums call, and now we're ready to parse the response. So let's take a look at what's actually getting returned from this albums call. When we call the lookup endpoint on the search API, it responds with something like this. This looks fairly similar to what we saw with the artists JSON, but this will return a list of all of our albums. The first item in this array of results is actually the artist itself. So this has our artist and its artist ID and some various other attributes about it. Everything after that pertains to the actual albums themselves. The way we can differentiate between these two data structures is the artist will have a wrapper type of artist, whereas albums will have a wrapper type of collection. And then here are all the various properties about an album that we could potentially parse. So we have things like the collection ID, which is what we're calling album ID, collection name, our album name, URLs to retrieve the various album images, price information, track count, copyright, etc. So structure very similar to what we saw in one of the previous lessons. Okay, so let's switch back to our code and we'll work on building out the success block. We'll begin by parsing our JSON using the NSJSON serialization class. We'll do a test to make sure that was properly parsed. If it wasn't, we'll invoke the completion block. If it was, we'll create a new NSMutable array instance to hold our results. I'm then going to iterate through the results collection. We do want to do one additional test, and specifically we want to look at the wrapper type. Since the first element in that list of results is the artist, we want to exclude that. So if the wrapper type is collection, we'll continue on with our processing. So I'll create a new album instance, get the collection ID and get the integer value from that. Grab our collection name, which we're mapping to album name. We'll get the URL for the 100 by 100 sized image and set that property. Grab its price. The collection view URL, so this is the location on the iTunes store that we want to take the user to when they tap the Open in iTunes button. Grab the genre name. We'll grab the release date, and this is calling this date for key method, and this is a category method that I added to NS Dictionary. So if I take a look at its implementation, the date in our JSON response is coming back as a string, and specifically a string in this particular format. So I need to parse this string and parse a date value from it. So just like we were doing in our album details view controller, I'm going to use this NSDateFormatter class, set its time zone to GMT time, set its date format to this date format that I defined above, and then finally we'll call the dateFromString method, passing in the actual string value. I added this method simply just to make it a little bit easier to parse this data. Lastly, we'll set the artist on this album. We'll add this album to our albums collection. And then finally invoke our completion block, passing in that array of albums. All right, so let's run the app. Tap View List. Select Guns N' Roses. And there's our list of albums. And now that our albums list is populated, I should be able to tap this row and see its album details. Let me tap the Save to List button. Well, I don't seem to have that functionality working, so let's quickly switch over to that and take a look. So right now in the Save to List method, we're simply dismissing that view controller. What we really want to do is call self.album save album. Let's take a quick look at our music list view controller as well. So in view will appear we're getting the updated list of albums, but we probably need to call self table view reload data to actually re-invoke those methods. Let's run that again. And beautiful, we have our working search functionality. Our search functionality is now complete. A user can search for an artist, load its albums, view the details, and even save it to their list. Very, very cool.